China's e-commerce giant JD.com has announced plans to buy the German electronics retailer Ceconomy for $2.5 billion. The deal is expected to be completed in the first half of next year and would allow one of China's largest online retailers to expand outside of its home market. Joshua Mahony is the chief analyst at Scope Markets, joining us now. Hello, Josh. So, very big deal, quite literally. Why does JD.com, huge retailer in China, want Ceconomy?
Well, look, this is an easy route into a foreign market. They have, of course, the ability to try and expand naturally. But if you want to just jump into a region and essentially become domestic in that region, much easier to buy a company like this. Now, back in 2023, they did explore deals for the likes of Currys. That didn't come to fruition, but Ceconomy was also another one that was on the line. You're talking about a company that already has over 1,000 locations across 11 different countries in Europe. So with this, they get an immediate ability to jump into the bricks and mortar business of retail and the opportunity to be able to improve that business, that traditional business, the biggest electronics retailer in Europe, through their expertise when it comes to e-commerce, AI and the like.
And what does Ceconomy get? I see about a quarter of their sales only are online. Is that the interest for JD.com?
Undoubtedly so. Look, ultimately, they're taking roughly 22 billion in terms of revenues. But like you said, it's between a quarter and a fifth of their sales are coming up from the e-commerce side of the business. Look, it's the 21st century and you're looking at the likes of Amazon, which people, of course, are heavily reliant upon. So if they have the ability to be able to come into a business that already is heavily mature, it's known and loved by customers across the board in Europe, and be able to introduce all of the modern trappings of an e-commerce company or a digital retail company, then of course they're going to see this as a major opportunity to be able to extract significant value out of the company.
I've got to ask whether geopolitics and looming Trump tariffs have played any role in these decisions, do you think?
I think certainly there's going to be a need for businesses to try and decide how they're going to sort of expand their reach away from just the US. Interestingly enough, of course, at a time where it's not necessarily all about globalization, instead people are sort of looking inwards. Businesses like this are probably going to want to invest into different regions and become localized themselves, which down the line, if we were to see a trade spat between, say, the Chinese and the EU, all of a sudden they already have a business that is localized within that country rather than just being JD.com and trying to gain access to the European Union as a market.
We know that this is still subject to shareholder approval, but they'll be happy because Ceconomy shares increased quite nicely on the news. But are there any other hurdles in the way?
Yeah, certainly there's going to be some regulatory scrutiny within the EU itself. Of course, there's always question marks when it comes to buying a tactical and a strategic company like this, when it comes to tech company, when it comes to retail. The European Union will have processes by which they judge whether this is something that they want to approve or not. There's obviously question marks about whether, like I said, a Chinese company would utilize this to be able to get around any measures down the line that they deem necessary to place upon the Chinese, where, of course, if the Chinese are trying to relocate their operations away from exporting to the US, there's question marks about people dumping products into Europe at very low prices. So there's, of course, going to be regulatory scrutiny, but bearing in mind where the share price is now compared to the share price that they'd be buying at is not that much different, because it's already the stock's already gained 22% over the last month. So the fact that we're seeing the buy price so close to where the share price is trading at the moment clearly shows that markets are confident that this deal will go through.
Well, thank you so much for breaking it all down for us, Joshua Mahony, chief analyst at Scope Markets.